but I think we can just briefly kind of kickstart, Mykola. What do you think?
Yeah, let's start. Let's
Okay.
start. I want to share some nice info for our guys.
Okay. Then like I can say that we will be covering these bad luck with some key crucial insight that we have been already prepared for today. And we will be having a long tail discussion and a quick Q&A at the end of today's webinar. Okay, so hi everyone, welcome. Really glad you guys are here. I'm Adil, head of Manai at Adapti, and today we will be talking about something like the most teams are using Apple as fundamentally wrong. Maybe not wrong in an obvious way, but wrong in a quite an expensive or totally invisible way. And today we will be trying to fix that within the next hour. With me today, Mykola, who actually built the Apple Ads Manager product at Adapti. So between two of us, we got the strategy side and we also got the data side. Nicole, yeah, you will go ahead and say hi.
Yeah, hey everyone, one more time. And I spent almost all my free time and all my time dive deeper into Apple Ads data, campaigns, keywords, paywalls, onboarding. And there are some patterns in this data that most people never get see. And today we plan to sharing this with you. So yeah, I think we can go.
Cool. So let me frame the session. We did it into four questions. Like these are the questions that we also receive most of the time from our audience, existing clients, and so like maybe the guys new to the Apple Ads. So the first thing first come up to mind, is Apple Ads really expensive or are we just using it in a wrong way? Maybe that is also a question that you guys might also have in your minds. Also, another question is that I keep bidding higher and higher, but still getting no impressions. That might be also another question. And now another tricky one is how are other people actually making money from this? I think that is the most crucial question most of you have in the mind. And finally, are you guys buying the install or are you guys buying the revenue? So by the end of today, you will have a real answer to each of these questions. No theory. We will be talking about the actual framework, and you can just simply apply those frameworks this webinar. So quick intro on me, 7+ years in mobile industry, focus on helping app companies scale across monetizations, subscription, retentions, Apple Ads, and also web tap. I work a lot in the MENA region, but the patterns today we will be talking are truly and completely universal.
Yeah, and I'm Mykola, 6 years focused on subscription growth, 4+ years in Adapti, lead ads manager for today, but previously built a paywall builder, onboarding builder, analyzed hundreds and hundreds of paywalls, onboarding, and from this data, I've seen what separates the people who can scale profitable in all way, and that ones who just spend the money in the Apple Ads, and in some cases spend hundreds of $1,000s per month. And today we want to talk about a little bit deeper and understand what can you do, to scale your campaign profitable.
Yeah, cool. Definitely, while we were kind of like giving a kickstart to our presentation today, I also would like to give some quick word on out of who Adapti is. Maybe some of you guys are already familiar with Adapti, maybe some of you do not. That's why I would like to just give some wording. So we were founded in 2019, and what makes us different from the others is that we started by building our own apps, meaning that we know that how it feels like spend money on Apple Ads and have no idea about what happens after the download. So we were there, like where you are standing right now. That's why we would like to build our Adaptive Ads Manager, where we will be discussing the details later on. So today, Adaptive process over than 500 million in-app purchases every year. We track over than 3 billion revenue and serve 2.5 billion users and handle 60 billion API calls per month. We are SOC2 verified and operating over than 99% SLA. We have a huge team, by the way, 200+ team members across 20 countries. We are like a remote first company, but we do have some office in US, UK, and Europe, and hopefully we will be having one in Turkey soon as well. So as I said, this is not to impress you, but this is to give you the idea that establish that the data we are sharing today come from a genuine scale. And also, I will be mentioning about what we will be covering today, the major 6 topics. They build on each other, so the order matters. Which, like, we start with fundamentals, what Apple Ads is actually is and why it's different. I see some question marks in the chat. People were asking about, like, is this session gonna be at the like advanced level or a basic level? So it will start at the like a basic level, then it will be getting towards to the like the advanced part of it. So then we will be starting with like what is Apple Ads and why Apple Ads. And then we will be sharing some benchmarks from our report, data that nobody else is publishing. Then the auction mechanism of how Apple Ads auction is working. We will be switching to the MMP cost, why install focus bidding is a trap. And then finally, we will be connect your ad spend to actual subscription revenue that you guys gather. So let's go. Okay, so in a nutshell, Apple Ads is one sentence. You show up at the top of your store search results when someone types a keyword that matches to your ad. And you guys only pay if someone actually taps to your advertising. So it is kind of like differentiating from all other channels. So pay per tap, not per impression, which is the fundamentally different model from almost every other channels you guys might be utilizing. And on the Apple search ad sites or Apple Ads, I do have the like I have been in the mobile industry and especially in the Apple Ads side for over than like 4 years. That's I do still have the like habit of calling it Apple search ads, but indeed it's been updated as Apple Ads. Sorry about that. So there are 4 placements in Apple Ads that you guys can utilize, which is search tab, today tab, search result, and the product pages. If you are just starting out, focus on the search results. It is because that is the place where the like the intent is highest and where most of your budget should go. The other placements have their places, but the search result is like where the real money is being made. So that's why we do emphasize for the like the new starters, or even though for the ones who has been already running the Apple Ads campaigns for the long term, we know that the like the majority of the budgets goes to the search results side of it. And secondly, if we are going to talk about the like the structures, I'll be mentioning about like campaigns, ad group, keywords, and the creative assets that you will be guys seeing in the Apple Ads management dashboards. So the campaign is the place where you set your budget and the target country. Ad group is the place where the real decision happening, like where the real stuff is kind of like happening. You decide your keywords, you decide your CPA cap and your max bid amount. To promo here, what I would suggest 1 keyword per ad group. It might sound like a bit extreme, I can hear that, but it gives you a complete clean data and the precise bid control over your campaigns. And like you guys also can separate the campaigns by intent type, which I do definitely suggest. Branded keywords underneath your brand campaigns, competitor keywords underneath your competitor campaign, and category keywords or like a generic keywords underneath your category campaign, and definitely a discovery campaign. The reason I would like to emphasize this division between your campaign structure is that it will be enabling you to understand if you guys are generating true revenue from which campaigns and which campaigns you should be kind of like investing more or avoiding wasting your money. That's why I do definitely and strictly advise to have this type of campaign structure in your Apple Ads campaign. Okay, so like as I mentioned, since we are already on the like the early stage of the Apple Ads size and giving some basics of Apple Ads, I also would like to mention some key metrics that you guys need to know. So like first thing first, I'll be mentioning about the TTR, which is the tap through rate. You guys might already be kind of like familiar with. CPT, which is cost per tap. CR, which is conversion rate, and CPA of your cost per acquisition. ROAS is your return on ad spend, and the LTV is definitely the lifetime value that you have been gathering from your users. Now, and at this important moment, Apple shows you the spends and the download data. That is the end of the story on the Apple is concerned. So trials, subscriptions, revenue, LTV per keyword, none of them is visible in the inside the Apple's dashboard. That gap is exactly what Mykola is going to come back to later. So let me hand the Mykola to cover the Apple ads different from the other channels.
Yeah, so let's compare, for example, Apple Ads with Meta. Yeah, because we need first of all why Apple Ads different and what's the difference. Yeah, and when we compare with the Meta, we need to think how to users how to users see the advertising. For example, someone scrolling the Facebook, yeah, or maybe Instagram, and sees the advertising in your application, yeah, and your ad is interrupt the user when they're scrolling, yeah. And when they go to the App Store, they just start searching, yeah, and they try to find the applications that fit their needs. They start typing some keywords, and they, in the result, see your ad that possible really well and relevant for their intent. For example, it's intent already ready. Yeah, we are not creating the intent. We're not creating the demand. You just captured it. And if we talk about the numbers, 850 million users search some application and use App Store every week. And more than 60% of downloads start with a search. It's not a niche channel, it's like primary way. And I think it's even more natural way how the users discover the iOS application nowadays. And the beneficial of this channel is that the attribution is really clean. It's own Apple Ads channel, and Apple has like attribution ad services framework and gives the all data attribution directly to Adaptive. Yeah, no third-party tracking, no discrepancies, no modeling, and you see what is really happening. The way I think about the Meta versus Apple Ads, I'm not seeing that there are competitors. Meta creates like awareness and Apple capture it. If you're running both, you will win. Yeah, general, because you Meta ads will literally see sending people to the App Store directly, and these users start just searching your brand keywords if you have some brand awareness, and then we faced with like brand defense. And Adil, do you want to cover brand defense maybe deeper?
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. Like this one always get a reaction in the room because like some people have some question marks in their mind. Like, is it logical or is it like rational choice to like run a brand campaign on the Apple Ads sites for my own brand, which I already own? But so like if you are running meta campaigns or if you are running other ad channels, you are spending your real money to build some awareness. Someone sees your ad and get interested, opens the App Store and types your brand name. So this might be not acceptable for some applications which just have like a general branding, but especially for the ones who is trying to emphasize its own brand in the market. Whenever you spend your money, especially increase the awareness of your brand in the market. But whenever user just simply types your brand name in the store, and if they find that your competitor is listed at the top, your competitor is kind of like, if they are bidding on your keywords, they are capturing the users that you already spent your budget to create the awareness. And then the brand CPT, like what I will suggest is that the brand CPT is incredibly cheap because you own your own capture rate for your own brand name, meaning that your relevance with your brand name will be the highest. And that's why this expected CPT will be much more lower. And then the competition will be also low. So you almost pay, compared to the other campaign structure, nothing. But if you don't have the brand campaign running right now, check it because there is a very real chance someone is stealing your install. That's why I think it's like the immediate action right after this call to check your brand campaign in the store that you guys already try to increase the awareness and attract the users.
Yeah, it's a great idea, Adil, thanks. And I also have some ideas also. We need to share some benchmarks for the competitor keywords. Because in my experience, I saw really, really nice results when someone just stealing traffic, use competitor keywords, and these keywords work even better than generic, like generic and category intent. But it's not for today. Today, we want to share with you guys, it's exclusively preview for our new benchmark. It's country and niche level benchmark from the Apple for the state of Apple ads 2026, and we primarily want to focusing on the subscription apps. Yeah, because we have a lot of data for subscription apps and from subscription apps. And the headline findings that we analyzed from 1 million ad groups, 59 niches, and more than 90 countries, it's that many teams spending their budget in the wrong places. Let me show what it means. Let's start from the country level benchmarks and what we see here. Yeah, we see this CPA by country across the whole world. Yeah, here's the numbers that should make you rethink about your maybe budgets and your focusing, because CPA is less than $1.50 for 92% of countries. 92% of countries, but most teams focus on the other 8%. That means 8% it's like 5 or 6 top tier 1 countries that can be CPA from the $3, $5, or even $10. And it's a possible the global opportunities that we want to highlight to you.
And one thing that I can also highlight, it's not only about the CPAs are being cheap, but it's also about like the conversion, Nicole. So like, even though you have emphasized like how the CPA can be like a more cheaper way in some countries, but I also would like to emphasize the conversion numbers is also like promising. So you can see that like 18 of the top 20 markets by conversion rate have a lower CPA, but beyond that also has a decent conversion rate, which is in the combination is a rare paid, which is like a rare in the paid advertising. That's why I also would like to mention some metrics on the conversion side as well.
Yeah, a concrete example of this that the tab in the US cost 14 times more than tab in Bulgaria. 14 times, yeah. And now I'm not saying just stop buying in the United States, stop all your campaigns. But if you never run a campaign in countries like Uzbekistan, Brazil, Colombia, Turkey, Poland, or even Romania, yeah, the data that we analyzed says that you're living profitable, scalable countries on the channel, on the table. Yeah, and these countries will be picked up by someone else.
Yeah, like by the way, those numbers are a bit kind of like surprising maybe at the early stage. While Mykola is mentioning about is like 14 times like costly. So it isn't actually the case. So that's why I also would like to share this chart with you, which also kind of like emphasize the most and the least efficient markets plotted by the cost per tabs and the conversion rates together. So what you are looking for at this graph is that top left quadrant, you saw low cost, high conversion. I believe those are the markets most of the teams are ignoring completely, but those are the real markets that everyone would like to be, right? So if someone is like having a dream about the mobile marketing, probably they will be dreaming of a place where they have the highest conversion rate with the lowest cost, I believe, right, Nicole?
Yeah. And now niche level insights. It's where really getting interesting, because all previous reports regarding Apple ads from our competitors that I see, it was category based, and it's a huge difference, because when I talk with our customers, are you really what do you think about the Apple ads benchmark? Are they really good for you or not? They said they cannot understand anything from them because category it's too broad. The same in the same category can be very different application with very different like KPIs, and this is the main problem that we try to fix this. Yeah, and what we see for now from our benchmark, you'll be able to see the niche category data for each like niche like VPN, even PDF reader, scanner, remote control. Yeah, we have a lot of data on this. And what we see like the main insight, the generative AI converts better than education, lifestyle, and health, and costs less to acquire. It's really nice and it's really possible right now to see the opportunity for generative AI in the App Store. Because what we see, the high conversion equals to high intent and equals to lower effective CPA. how it works, it because of intent of generative AI is very clear. For example, people that are looking for AI writing tool or AI photo editor, they know exactly what they want, and they receive the really interesting application with the AI features, and our clients can work can works and sell subscriptions really well. We also released some nice case study regarding to generative AI application. You can find it on our website, or I will share the links soon. It's case about Glam AI and AI video generator. And this not only two application. Yeah, we see this trend data in our benchmarks. Generative AI working good, and we saw the opportunity for them in the applets.
Yeah, like while you were kind of mentioning about the generative AIs, I also would like to give some head up to the utility guys. Probably we also have some like attendees coming from the utility apps, either direct owners or maybe like their marketers. So like in the utilities apps also own like 50% of the top 20 niches in terms of the top 3 rates. That's also like half of the top niches. So the pattern is the same. Specific search, clear need, user is like ready to act. So compare that to the lifestyle or wellness apps, or those users are like still kind of like exploring to find out if the application that they are seeking is like exactly kind of like satisfying what they are exactly seeking in the market. But especially for AI genre and the utilities genre, like the search are specific, clear needs are clear. That's also like not these are not like not worst or like the best case. These are like different games with different metrics.
Yeah, possible. I not see some technical stuff. I not see the next slide. Maybe it's because my internet.
Yeah, like I do already had to like the lower cost niches solves needs. So like please feel free to chime in when your internet connection is
Yeah,
back.
now I got it. Yeah, everything is great. Yeah. Uh, I really like the slide, and I definitely will come back here because lower cost niches solve the immediate need, and higher cost niches build a habit. The difference matters for now when you structure your campaigns, what CPA you willing to accept, and what level of LTV you should be building toward. Because know which game you're playing. And here I really want to focus in on the screen recorder, remote control. It's low cost, strong conversion, and compared to the PDF reader, yeah, we see a really huge competition in this niche. But screen recording, it's really working well. It's much more better for PDF reader for this year. Yeah. Also, we saw the VPN, or it's acceptable conversion rate and really nice CPA. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
like
will come back to this.
yeah, the reason I like this graph the most is that like most of the time, even though like we today are mentioning about like how the Apple Ads is working or some tips and tricks about it, sometimes and maybe like the founders or the marketing teams would like to have an idea about what should be their next steps, what should be their next app that they will be kind of like launching in the market, and they might be having some question marks which niche is kind of like a correct way to kind of like give their efforts. So it's kind of like investment in terms of time, not only just money but also with like the labor force, etc. So these type of like niche products with the better conversion rate, with like higher intent, lower cost, might be also giving some guidance for the like those type of audience today who might be kind of like trying to figure out where or which app should be their next one in the market. So that graph is like one of the one that I love. Okay, so like absolutely. Now, while Mykola was mentioning about the like you guys are playing different games, I will be today briefly cracking how the Applet games is working and how will we cracking it today. So I will be calling it like an auction mechanism, but you guys can also call it like an auction game as well. So how the Applet's auction is working. So let's assume that you guys are bidding $5 and your competitor A is bidding $1.5 and competitor B is bidding $0.8. So the first question mark, Okay, Adil, you are kind of like giving some example, but I do not know if my competitor is really bidding $1.5. Indeed, you guys do know because you guys never pay your fully max bid. Your competitors bid amount sets your real price, meaning that if you guys are bidding $5 and your competitor is kind of like bidding 1.5, you will be seeing your cost per taps as 1.51, which gives the tips and hints and tricks of your competitor's exact bid amount. So whenever you guys would like to identify what exactly your competitor is bidding, just simply play around with your bids and see. So like if you are bidding $5 but receiving the cost per top of average 1.51, that gives you the signal of your competitors somewhere around there, 1.5. And if you guys try to increase your impression share in the market and try to beat the competitors that always has higher impression than you, then just slightly keep increasing your bid amounts. And for instance, let's assume that you increase your bid amount from 5 to 6, but still the same impression, 6 to 7, still the same impression, like maybe 10 to like 7 to 10, but still the same impression. The day you go to like the 11, and once you realize your cost per tap is $10, that gives you your biggest competitors was just running their full bid amounts on $10. Now you identified those guys. Now it is your time to make your calls. If you would like to make the life costly for your competitors, you can just keep your bidded amount like $9, meaning that your biggest competitor will always be giving $9 per every single install or $9.1 for every single install they get. So you make life expensive for them. And let's see if your competitor will able to stand there that much longer. So that is the biggest strategy on the auction side. So it is a critical game. I believe like if we had an imaginary answers or imaginary world, most of the marketing guys will be asking, what is my competitors like the budget or their bid demands? So you don't have to be like a magician. Just by simply adjusting your bid amounts, you can understand your upper competitors current bids and also the ones that who is trying to chase you. If you guys realize the same thing that you already bid yesterday is getting expensive today, it exactly means that your competitors just below you increasing the bid amount. So I just try to explain how the Apple bid auction mechanism is kind of like working with, but I believe it's kind of like much more clear for the today our audience. But one key thing that I also need to emphasize here is that it's not solely with your bid amounts. Bid amounts decides about the auction strategies and auction mechanism about the cost stuff, but receiving the impression is also critical, important with your relevance scores, the keyword that you are kind of like requesting the impression in the market. That's why while we were talking about the relevance score, we have two key metrics, which is your tap through rate. Who has a better tap through rates is detected as a high relevant by the Apple algorithm. Also, who has a better organic ranking is similarly detected as highly relevant with that keyword. So I kind of like take this part a bit longer because I just want to make sure that everybody knows how the auction gaming is kind of like works.
Yeah, I want to add it on this part because the relevance score is something really important that most people completely miss. Because if your application is more relevant to keyword, if your App Store metadata is strong, your organic position, your organic ranking for these keywords is solid, your historical tap-through rate is good, Apple will show you your ad more often than your competitor, who just bid higher and higher, and you can win the auction on lower bid with the lower budget. And we see this on real data every day. The last, from my experience, we have the pretty similar to PDF scanner application, yeah, and the same keyword. But first application on the same, and this keyword have the same amount of bid. And the first application start receiving the impressions, receiving the tabs, and in the results have profitable ROAS. But the second one receiving zero impression, yeah, and the app owner have no idea what's wrong because title pretty similar, even subtitle pretty similar, maybe screenshot some difference, Yeah, but it's really about the score reference. It's really important.
Like I do just see a like a message in the chat. So is that ASO is not that? So like
It's
yeah,
not that, yeah.
definitely ASO is not that. Like maybe like in discussion on the ASO side, I think it was about like adjusting the expectation. Whenever people were talking about the ASO, they were just simply thinking about having free users just by organic ranking so that no cost, but having users. No, that is not the only outcome of the ASO. ASO is not only impacting your organic installs, but also impacting your category ranking in the App Store, definitely impacting your Apple Search as relevancies, and definitely impacting your cost on the Apple Search as side. So like I think ASO definitely is not that, but the expectation, the wrong expectation on the ASO side is that. So like ASO is not solely about having the organic downloads and organic or zero investment, but just the revenue. No, it's not the case. ASO is like the critical part to emphasize, to have better ranking for your own app and kind of like leverage your hand in the Apple Search at scale.
Yeah, totally agree. Totally agree, Adil. Yeah, we should do and use, so you should do as much as possible different testing for your product page, for your app icon. Just try even to change these keywords that you highlight on the screenshot. Yeah, and you will see the results. That's it. Yeah, let's go next. How to track keyword level ROAS and LTV without MMP. MMP, it's some tools, maybe you're facing it. Yeah, it's like AppsFlyer, Adjust, Singular, Branch, and the most guys that using Apple Ads using MMP also, because in general, it's almost the easiest way to receive the revenue and subscription data. But and this is absolutely okay. But the problem is what actually it costs to you. Yeah. Uh, MMP typically charge 0.07. It's like 7 cents per install, per each track install. And if our conversion from install to paid around 5%, that's roughly $1.40 for each paying user, just for tracking. And if your application has around 2% of conversion, you will pay plus $3.50 per each paying user, just to know which keywords are working. It's not for you just not start optimizing, it's just for tracking. And at the scale, if you have around 20,000 install per month, you will be pay around $1,400 per month. And if we calculate it for the year, it will be roughly 70,000 just for tracking. The great news that with Adaptive Manager, it will eliminate it. You will pay zero. You will pay zero for us because tracking for Apple Ads and Adaptive is completely free. Yeah, and we called this like MMP data tax. It's MMP data tax. It's not your spend. It's really tax.
So like whenever you call it like a data text, I do always laugh it because I do really like that like phrase. So like but that is what it is, right? So it's absolutely a data tax. Like you guys are not spending that money on your campaigns. You guys are not using that money to kind of like scale your campaigns, or you guys are not using that money to convert new users. That is just the data tax of an MMP that you guys have been using. And like what also makes it worse is that MMPs are only read-only platforms, meaning that they have zero write access on the Apple Ads side. So like they can see your campaigns, they can see the outcomes, but they cannot touch on your bid amounts. They cannot pause the keywords that you are running, and that they cannot adjust the budget. So it's like somewhere that I'm just glancing for analytics, but looking from the analytics, I cannot really take any actions, meaning that, so like you guys are just paying the data tax just to see the analytics. But with Adopt the Apple Ads Manager, so like it's totally a different story where there is zero cost in terms of like these data attribution, but you guys have the chance of making your strategy directly in the Apple Ads sites on the Adaptive platform.
Yeah, let's dive deeper maybe in a more important problem than MMP tax. Yeah, it's about structure problem with how the people optimizing their campaigns. Apple Ads gives your impression data, tabs data, downloads data, and after this, it's full stops. Yeah, what happens after the download? It's completely invisible for us. Did they start a trial? Did they convert to paid? Or did the user churn after maybe 2 days? Yeah, we have no idea. So what we can optimize in this way, it's only for downloads. It's for CPA or like in maximize conversion campaigns like CPA target. Yeah, uh, we can find the cheap install in this way. Yeah, but we have no idea how this install is performing inside the application. And in the results that we have, we can acquire a lot of cheaper users that never convert to paid subscriptions and bring zero revenue for us.
Like, I think this is the quiet drain that the webinar title is about, right, Nicole? So like that's why you could be finding your worst performing keywords without knowing it. Like you still keep funding and funding in a wrong campaign, in a wrong keyword, because you do not know what is the true outcome of those campaigns or true outcome of those specific keywords. So like it means that you are playing this game blindly. So like the scary thing is that it looks totally fine in Apple dashboards. So you have like green numbers. The install is coming. Pay looks acceptable. But on the revenue side, everything is invisible. So what does it look like when you can actually see the full picture? I think that is what we need to emphasize.
Yeah, I already remember some great example. I will share it soon. Yeah, the solution for this is our adaptive full funnel analytics because in adaptive we see not only downloads, we see the installs after downloads, the trials, paid revenue, and even LTV. In our dashboard and with adaptive, we receive deterministic attribution user level directly from the Apple Ads services, and you can easily understand which keywords bring you 200 per week, yeah, and which keyword bring you $20 per week. And then you can decide which keywords you want to scale and which keywords you want to cut off. It's a completely different game. You can optimize for LTV, for revenue, for ROAS, and cost per paid. You easily understand. If you acquire the paid subscriber for cost per paid less than your LTV, you'll be in profit in general. And the really nice example with our customer, we use the same keyword in the United States and in the Canada, and we roughly acquired 200 installs in the Canada for the same keyword and the United States. But for United States, we receive 0 trials, and for Canada, we receive roughly 20 trials. Yeah, it's 20 trials. It's 10% conversion rate. Thumbs up if our customer in chat. Yeah. Uh, and what we should understand from this, that Apple Ads can even highlight for us which problem we have in which countries. The problem is the result was in the monetization part that the price in the United States was too high, yeah. And after applying the Canadian pricing in the United States, we see the different structure with the different metrics regarding the trial. Our trial rate stabilized, yeah, and we will not see this data even if we don't use even if we use Apple Ads. We just see that we acquire in the same amount in the Canada, in the United States. In the Canada, it's a little bit cheaper. In the United States, a little bit expensive. But when you see the full funnel, you can identify the problem and solve this.
Yeah,
Yep.
like I think that that's definitely a good example because like just by getting the installs in the USA, does it really work something like a business outcome, or is it like having trials, which is potential new subscriber in the Canadian market? I think that is a true business outcome, right, Nicole?
Yeah, I completely agree. And also want to cover maybe some other parts where Sadapti can win. Let's switch for the next slide. Yeah, it's directly our advantages that we can provide. We have real time through attribution for Apple and right through. Yeah, what live in our dashboard is live is Apple. some our also competitors using different same way. They just write some updates in their database, and after 3 or 4 hours they try to synchronize with Apple. And in the result, on the next day, possible you will see the sync error message. Yeah, we don't do this in this way. If you apply some changes in our dashboard, we show the success and success messages only after Apple saves this on their site. In the results, any changes for rules are executed simultaneously in the same seconds that you apply it. The second one, the greater thing that I want to share, unique, it's a unique opportunity because we can target different paywalls for different keywords and even different ad groups and campaigns. That means we can show tailored paywalls for different user keywords. We can show on the paywalls and sell them users what they are looking for in the Apple Ads App Store. They try looking some keyword specific, for example, Sora AI, yeah, and we understand inside the application that users comes from Sora AI, and we show for them specific paywalls where we highlighting that we are using a video generator system, but by Sora AI, and we possible can have at least 100 paywalls and test them, test pricing, test tailoring, test the messages on the fly without any app releases. And it's by MMP, it's without MMP, it's only with Adaptive SDK. If you try to using MMP, possible you will be faced with the data latency because attribution it's not comes really fast, and we solve this with our Adaptive SDK. On our SDK, we have the possibility to weight this attribution and understand when we call the get paywall, we receive the tailored paywall, and we will understand that these users will see the tailored paywall, and we highlight on paywall what they're looking for. And when you build this tailored funnel, it can be working pretty well because user looking, for example, Sora AI or Veo 3, they can look and they can face with custom product page, with custom screenshot, then download the application, see the custom maybe some onboarding about this and custom paywall about this. And this mechanism can be applied not only for the like 1 or 2 keywords. Also nice ideas from our customers that already tested. We can offer for our brand traffic higher prices because the brand niche and brand like intent is already users that know us, know our application, and we can offer for them higher prices on paywalls, and in results we'll receive the higher ROAS. Also, if you know a lot of keywords in the App Store with like free prefix, for example, free video generator application, we can offer for these users more longer trial, or maybe even start proposing for trial or proposing the lower prices, and in the result we'll receive the higher LTV for these users. If someone looking for competitors download the application, we also can highlight on the paywall what our competitive advantage, why we're so different, what is unique, yeah. And when you start thinking in this flow, that you can apply intent from the Apple Store in your paywalls, in the result you will receive the great result about the monetization, and we will receive the more details, more examples also, and our Apple Ads reports really soon. Yeah, I did.
Yeah, cool. Like I think you already mentioned some of the like the critical points, not only about the like the technicality stuff, but also like some strategic stuff as well, which I like the most. Like because it's about if it is about the technicality side, it's about like the engineering or how a platform is working. But if it is about like having a correct strategy about what you are capable of doing, then it is the like the most crucial one. And you already mentioned some critical key takeaways, and I will be also mentioning some critical key takeaways as well. So, as I mentioned at the very beginning of our today call, so we covered a lot of stuff, but let me leave you with 3 things that you can actually do this week. Maybe some of them are too advanced, like as Nicole mentioned about kind of like customizing your onboarding and paywalls with your keywords and targeting accordingly and updating the product pages like the your paywalls, etc. Those might be requiring some like further investments, might be kind of like taking longer time, but I will give you like 3 tips and tricks, not like a summary, but like a direct action items that you guys can take from this webinar right after this one. So like, first thing first, stop chasing the tier one market by default, since everybody is chasing the tier one market. Open your campaign dashboard, look at where your budget is going. Pick 2 or 3 countries from our benchmark that we already shared, which we'll be also sharing with QR code at the end of today's session. And please note that that report is right now publicly not available, so it will be a privilege to you guys for ones who is attending today calls. So like, check our benchmark from like benchmark analysis for countries. Then try to find the country that you have never tested before with high conversion and low CPA, and run a small budget test. That data will definitely surprise you. So I do definitely suggest that do that. And secondly, right now, right after this call, again, go to your app store, search for your own brand name, and check who is in the position number 1. If it is your competitor, you have a brand campaign to set up today, not tomorrow, today. This is the fastest, cheapest CPA that you can win in your entire account in the Apple Ads. And third thing that I can also emphasize here is that pull up your 5 top keywords by spend, your top 5 keywords by spend, and for each one, ask yourself, do I know what is the exact revenue that you have been generating from these specific keywords? If the answer is no, like for any of them, you're not running Apple Ads. You are just running download machine, and that is the problem where Adaptive solves your problem. So like, those 3 tips and tricks, I do definitely advise you to like take away and apply it right after this call. So as I mentioned, here is the QR code that you can also utilize.
Yeah, and the full state of Apple Ads report for subscription application, primarily, it's available by this QR code, and we also provided maybe some landing pages nice this week and will be dropped really soon. The full report has complete country and niche data, plus some frameworks for applying to your campaigns. If you want to see the Adaptive Ads Manager or tools like CPP, custom product page, A/B testing, you can just sign into Adaptive and use all Adaptive functionality. It's completely free, under 5,000 monthly track revenue. That means if you earned, if you track, if your application earned less than 5,000, each service in Adaptive will be completely free for you. Included market intelligence, competitor intelligence data. You can see your competitor keywords. You can use any A/B testing, any paywall testing, any flow builders, LTV prediction. That's all will be completely free for you. It's really nice for it's like bonus for all attendees from this webinar. And possible one small things. Are you really, if you really want to know, it's possible to scale the Apple Ads from 0 to profitable. I saw a lot of example during this year, and I personally see the guys that start from the budget, I think 1,000, 2,000, and then scale to 10,000 per month, and now they're launching campaigns almost $60,000 spending per month, and the ROAS day 31 is at least 90%. That means the possible the channel it's work. Its channel it's really nice, even for generative AI. Yeah, it's really competitive niche. There are a lot of application in this niche, but if you know how to optimize it, it can be profitable for you.
Cool. Like, first of all, huge thanks to everyone who's attended today. I believe we have some time. So even though, by the way, again, thank you so much for your understanding about the technical issues that we already had at the early beginning of these webinars. But yeah, like fingers crossed, and like we know that there were some bad lucks, some jinx. Maybe we jinxed it a lot. Maybe that is not the case, but we had the time, so we would like to receive some questions from our attendees today. So I will be picking up the ones from here. Then I will be kind of like directing those questions to you, Mykola, as well. So please feel free to chime in whenever you would like to. So I just read the questions while you were mentioning about an example of one of our clients. So that the question was like, are you guys bidding on the trial, or are you guys also kind of like deciding on your bidding strategies based on the subscription and the revenue? So taking that question to on my end, so it's not only about the trial. So in the Adaptive Ads Manager, and also not only on the Adaptive Ads Manager, but in terms of general Apple Ads strategy, what I would suggest at the early stage, you guys might be kind of like considering to target lower CPAs. But in the end, you will be definitely wondering about the revenue that you have been generating. So for a while, even though you might be targeting lowering the CPA, after a while, you will be start to think about number of the trials that you have been generating, number of the subscription you have been generating, and maybe direct the ROAS and LTV data. So all these metrics are available in Adaptive Ads Manager, meaning that if you would like to automatically update your bid amounts based on these metrics, you can just simply say that if my number of subscription is increased 30%, even though I did not increase my budget amount, keep increasing that budget amount in that campaign because I am deriving the revenue. Or if you realize that a keywords always keep spending 30% of your total budget, but not generating like 10% of the whole trial that you have been receiving from users, then you can set an automation says that decrease my bid amount by 5% each day unless my number of trials are increasing, etc. So it is not solely dependent on trial, but it's depending on which strategy you would like to run. So you can adjust your bids, campaign budgets based on your CPA, based on your trial numbers, based on your subscription numbers, also based on your revenue, LTV, and ROAS as well. So, and then I will be giving the second question to you, Mykola, if it is okay, or you can just simply pick from the chat.
Yeah, I also have some questions during our webinar. Yeah, aren't these countries have lower LTVs than US? When we're showing like country niche benchmarks, and this I want to answer, yeah, because yeah, these countries have the lower LTVs than US, but if your LTV lower 5 times, you can acquire some user lower than 10 times cheaper, and you will be in profit. For example, I want to highlight the really nice countries. The countries that I really like is South Africa. It's really nice paying customers live there, almost English-speaking country, and we can acquire really nice LTV, but for really cheap price. And for countries like Brazil, Romania, Poland, we will receive definitely lower LTV than the United States, but the cost per acquisition will be much lower, and the difference between this, you will be in profit. Yeah. Next to Adil. Yeah, or I can take
Well,
on.
I do see a challenging question in the chat, so I'll be opening that one. So it's like no explanation of how to really optimize the Apple searches, but it's like an tool-wise angle. No, it's not only tool-wise angle. So like maybe we did not emphasize that part deeply. Maybe it was like kind of like a bit lost in the whole discussion. But we already mentioned about like the campaign structure that you have to use, like the brand campaign, competitor campaign, generic or like a niche campaign, and the discovery campaign. We also emphasize that how the auction mechanism is working. So meaning that you guys can identify your competitors' bid amount just by simply updating your bids. You guys can make life expensive for your competitors, meaning that if Mykola is bidding $8 and I'm bidding $2 and he's always receiving the 80% of the impression, if I identify that as the case, I will be slightly increasing my bid amount to make life much more costly to Mykola while keeping my cost the same because I'll be just paying the competitors just below me. So that is a kind of like a crucial gaming that you can utilize in your Apple Ads strategies. And beyond that, we also mentioned that like the auction gaming is not only enough for Apple Ads strategies. We also emphasize the true importance of your organic ranking plus your relevance scores, which has been detected by the Apple algorithms. That's why not only like what you need to do with the tools, but also what you need to do with your strategies, especially while you are guys giving up your decision for Apple ads. Because the reason I'm emphasizing the keywords, that is the way you are gathering all these traffics in the Apple ads side as well. So I think I briefly explained that question, Nicole. Maybe you can pick up another one.
Yep. Do
Uh,
Adaptive provides share of voice of keyword? Yes, we provide. We provide impression share data per keyword. It's the data that we fetch directly from the Apple ads. We show this data on the keyword level in the search term level. Also inside the market intelligence, we during competitor analysis show the share of voice of your competitors. We show the keywords that using your competitors and share of voice of them. Yep, as the short answer. And also want to cover the really nice question between what's the difference between MMP of Adaptive versus Fslayer. Uh, in short, yeah, MEP it's like tool focusing on the attribution at channel, and it's real nice for you if you're using multiple channel. Yeah, for example, Meta, Google, TikTok. Yeah, but in Adaptive we are focusing on the revenue management for you, on the paywalls, on the user acquisition, and for now we are doing primarily Apple Ads attribution for 100%. We have some separate product Adaptive UA that can help you with web to app attribution. Yeah, but primarily we focusing on the attribution for Apple Ads channel, and we do it really quick, and we be able to show you real revenue data in less than 15 minutes. Yeah, it's pretty fast. Yeah, we almost real time. We have real time analytics on the Apple Ads channel. It's our competitive advantage without any discrepancy, without building the Frankenstein from different system, with different chains. Yeah, we have all in one SDK, one dashboard, attribution data, revenue data, spend data directly from the Apple ads.
Okay. We also
How
have
do you?
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, yeah, I can do it. Yeah. Also, I saw the question regarding what we focusing for optimizing. It can be ROAS, it can be LTV. In my experience, the best practice is for targeting predicted LTV. Yeah, but if you can use it from cohort for in Adaptive. But if you don't have like prediction, you can use also like different targets for LTV. If you acquire the subscriptions or paying user less than your LTV, you'll be in profit for sure. Yeah, and also you can adapt this for your targets for the ROAS, because if you're launching more than 1 month, we need to take into account the retention from your subscriptions. If you're primarily focusing on the weekly subscription or monthly, you need to understand that you paying for user right now, yeah, one time, but this user will generate the revenue for you each weekly or each monthly or each annual if you have annual subscription. And this all data we need to take into account. In the simplest way, it's focusing only on the cost per paid and your predicted LTV.
Okay, I think there's a good question here. Like, how do you recommend balancing the volume and the efficiency when scaling high-performing keywords? So, kind of like briefly mentioning what Nicole just told a couple seconds ago. If you are kind of like in a pace that where you are already trying to scale, but also would like to make sure that you are profitable in terms of the revenue that you have been generating, if the budget is not fragile, if you have like a long-term investment that you would like to be in the Apple Ads game, rather than focusing on like a short-term wins, I do definitely recommend focusing on long-term wins, which is the LTV metrics. So like, because as we mentioned previously, the Apple Ads users are the ones that has already give their intent to find the application that they would like to use. It is not like, as Mikkel mentioned in the early stage, like it's not about like you do not show up to your users like in other channels. You are not trying to attract their attentions. Those guys already have their intent. Those guys open their app stores, already search for a keywords, meaning that they are already ready to buy something, to have something as a service, meaning that those users have the highest intent. If they convert, if they kind of like start the subscription or start their trial period, we do know that, especially for Apple Ads user, you will be having higher LTVs compared to the other channels. If you guys haven't checked it yet, you should definitely do that analysis to see by your attribution or by your channel source, identify the LTV metrics. I'm 100% sure 90% of you will be figuring out Apple Ads users have higher LTVs compared to the other channels. That's why while you were trying to balance the volume and the efficiency, try to see if those costs are acceptable, but always keep in mind the LTV metrics and LTVs that you have been gathering from those users. So scale, but rather than looking to the short-term wins, try to focus on the LTV, which is kind of like a long-term win, which is much more stable for your business in terms of economics.
Yep, thanks, Adil. Really nice answer. I also see some question. Does your MMP provide keyword data for low volume keywords? Yes, we provide any data, even from the one install. Yeah, if you receive one install and this user buys the subscriptions, we immediately show this on the dashboard. Yeah, and we have the attribution data on the campaign level, on the ad group level, on the keyword level, and on the ad level. Ad, it's about custom product page structure for Apple Ads.
Okay,
As a,
so yeah, I had a question. As a solo developer, what Apple Ads campaign structure like you recommend starting with? Is there a basic setup that works very well for most of the apps? So I'll be taking that questions. If you're a solo developer and starting to are willing to start the Apple Ads, what I do recommend at the first stage, it might be a bit surprising. First thing first, make sure that you have a solid ASO. What I mean by ASO is that before launching the Apple Ads campaign, make sure that you have relevant keywords in your title, in your subtitle, and in your App Store Connect. Is it going to fix the whole problem? No, but without that, you will not be able to fix the problem. So have it as like the first early starter point. And after that, try to identify which keywords you've been detected as relevant, which means the keywords that you have been listed better organically. Those might be the critical keywords to start with your Apple campaigns. And plus, like I don't know what you mentioned today or not, on the like you also need to identify which keywords your competitors are targeting. But if you are at a like early stage or baby steps of your founding the app or like in the market, try not to kind of like compete yourself with the biggest players in the market. So if you're in a, like a scale of a small business, try to identify other small apps who's running their apps in the Apple Ads and try to see which keywords they are running or bidding and which keywords they're trying to receive impression in the market. Like you can build on your strategy on the ASO side early stage, target the keywords that you organic that had a better rank. Also see a similar niche or similar app to you in terms of like the business wise, how it big is or like how much money you are willing to spend on the Apple Ads, and try to identify the keywords that they are running and bidding and try to do the similar strategy for yourself, especially mentioning about the competitor analytics. There is a specific marketing intelligence features that we already launched. Maybe Mykola can mention about how can they figure out the competitors' keywords in our intelligence module.
Yeah, just understand who your competitors. Just start using search. Just search your application title in the App Store. Then you possible can identify who are your competitors, and just look in these app names in our tool, and we highlight which keywords they use. And possible does not pick up as like large high volume, pick up long tailed keywords with multiple keywords and try to testing them. Yeah. Um, for on other hand, Adil, it's a great answer. Thanks.
Yeah.
What it's impossible to the I pick the other another
Yeah, yeah.
question. Yeah, what is impossible to understand the LTV for the individual keyword for the low volume one. We can rely on campaign level LTV, but it's not really that we can recommend to you because each keyword can be really different. Even each keyword in the similar ad group intent can be different. That can perform really really with different cost per paid. And if you have the low keyword, just keep going testing. Start from receiving 20 installs. Then you understand the first signal what you have. Then after 20 installs, start and wait to receive at least 100 installs. When you receive at least 100 installs on keyword, you will be better understand your conversion rate to trial, to paid, and maybe even some retention. Yeah, it's not pumping the budget. You need just more time for testing it.
Okay.
Yep, I hope its answer was clear for you.
Did we miss any questions in the chat or cool? Any guys with any other questions or like anything we also need to emphasize today before we kind of like finish the today's sessions? Let me know. Okay. Cool. Thank you so much, guys, for your attendance today. As I mentioned, please always feel free to download our reports on the Apple Ads side. You can just simply scan the QR, which I mentioned earlier, which is publicly not available right now, which is a privilege for today's attendees. And in case you might have any question marks in the mind, me and Nicole are always welcome with the questions and always happy to kind of like walk through with details with you. Thank you so much for your time today. It was a pleasure meeting you all, and we will be looking forward to the next one where we will be holding. And yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much, guys. Yeah, feel free to reach me in LinkedIn in any place. Yeah, and ask any questions. We'll do anything that possible to help you. Running Apple Ads, profitable. Love you guys.
Bye.